Ladies and gentlemen, didn't even do the clapper?
Oh, hold on. It's not time yet.
No, it's. Hey, welcome back to the Shop Podcast. This is episode numero
Cinco 10. 510. Not 510. Just reversing.
Did you ever have an S truck?
No, but I wanted one.
Did you? That was like your truck of choice.
No. I mean, not like if I could have any choice that I wanted.
Have you looked at the new Tesla truck?
No.
This episode's sponsored by Elon Musk.
Musk.
That's a new deodorant I've been wearing.
Musk.
The Elon Musk.
Musk of Elon.
The Tesla truck's pretty cool. You can shoot it. It's bulletproof.
I've always wanted to be able to shoot my vehicle and keep on going.
Can you shoot the
old RAV4?
the Raffer?
I haven't tried it, but I'm gonna.
There's only one way to know.
It wasn't in the manual when I bought it.
You didn't read the manual.
But it wasn't in there. I just know.
If you read the manual, it would have been
That's not on the app.
the biggest book you would have read this year.
Yeah. I just use the app for my car.
It has an app?
Yeah.
Tells you how to do things?
Tells me when to change my oil and everything.
Really?
Just pops up on my phone, yeah.
I don't think your phone knows.
And my car also knows how to read.
It's a lie.
It's not. Tina says it's a lie too, but she doesn't know about my car.
Your car knows how to read?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
You drive past the speed limit sign. It pops up on the screen and says that's how fast it's going. That's how fast you're supposed to go when you drive by the speed limit sign.
It's just a map.
No.
It's just GPS.
No.
Your phone does it too.
No.
Yeah.
My car
No.
reads the speed limit signs.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
It's ridiculous.
I'm going to test it. I'm going to go put a blanket over a speed limit sign, drive by it, and see if it can still read it.
Please do.
I bet it can't.
We'll post it on the tube.
Yep. And when I get out
Shop
of prison for
Is that a
tampering
law?
with-
You're not allowed to put a blanket on the speed limit sign?
I bet it's something similar. How do you feel about cooked sandwiches?
You mean, what are those? My brother used to make them. We had this like little, it's like
The sandwich maker?
yeah, but like it toasted it and like sealed it.
It made it into like little triangles?
Yeah,
Yeah, those are great.
yeah. What were those called?
Sandwich maker.
No, it's like a calzone kind of thing.
Nah. Sandwich maker.
Nah. Okay. So yeah, how do I feel
Sandwich
about
grill? I did have one of the. So what did you make in those?
a grilled cheese?
That's all?
Maybe ham and cheese, grilled cheese.
You never made a chili dog in one?
No,
I did.
that's not.
It was delicious.
That's not normal.
Yeah, you just like cut a weenie in half and put it on each side diagonally of the bread.
Oh no! So you just ate weenie? The weenie has to have a hot dog bun.
No. Look, when it's better. You put the half weenie diagonally on each side of the bread, and then you put some cheese on there, and you take a scoop of chili,
Out of the can?
drop it on. Yeah, I mean, unless you want to make a fresh pot of chili just for that, but all you need is like a couple spoonfuls.
What's your go-to canned chili?
The
The one with the dog bushes?
no,
That's beans.
Yeah, that's beans. Wolf maybe.
Yeah, that's what
No,
Yeah, Wolf's a good one.
Armor maybe.
So
It's blue. It's just because that's what Tina uses. But when I was at home doing that as a child, I don't know, whatever chili my parents bought.
and you put it in the sandwich.
Yeah, you put it in the sandwich.
calzone
and
maker.
you butter it on both sides because you're gonna grill it.
Oh,
You butter the bread. You have to.
this sounds terrible.
Like you butter a grilled cheese, right?
Yeah, but that's not a hot dog.
Look, dude, you butter it, squish it in there, and then it's like a chili dog hot pocket, and it is delicious.
Sounds terrible.
Delicious.
That's the
I like to
worst.
experiment with foods. And which brings me to my most recent experiment, which is why I ask you if you like to cook sandwiches. So this is what I had yesterday for lunch.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No.
Maybe it wasn't yesterday. It may have been Saturday. I don't know. I think it was yesterday. I lose track of time. Anyway,
After church.
I think it was after church. Yeah, it was after church because I don't want to go anywhere. All right. So start with kind of your classic. I wanted something that was not too heavy because I wasn't super
You
hungry.
had a big afternoon.
But I just wouldn't want. So I went with like my thought was grilled cheese, chicken noodle soup.
Okay.
Kind of chill, simple. So I got my bread, classic grilled cheese ingredients,
Okay.
American cheese.
Okay.
It's like this is too boring. I gotta spice it up.
Okay.
So I put the American cheese on the inside, buttered it like normal you will for a grilled cheese.
Okay.
Put 2 tablespoons of cottage cheese
That's terrible.
in the middle, and then grilled it like normal, but not as grilled as I wanted it to be. Then I took a little one of these of some
A kneecap.
these of some grated cheese,
Okay.
shredded cheese, whichever you would like to call it.
Okay.
Dropped it on the hot skillet.
Okay.
Put the sandwich on top of it. Let it kind of soak in the outside of the bread on both sides, and it kind of crisps up the cheese. And that was my sandwich, and it was delicious.
Let me get so you got cheese on the inside and outside.
Yeah.
Cottage cheese.
Yeah. Cottage cheese and American cheese in the middle, and then Monterey Jack on the outside.
I'm judging you pretty hard right now.
Don't judge it until you've tasted it.
I'm judging you very hard. I don't even think I like cottage cheese.
You know? It's pretty delicious. When's the last time you had cottage cheese? What
I
about
don't remember.
pimento cheese? We had this discussion yesterday.
Yeah. Nope. I don't think I like that either.
Kroger has the best. Just another sponsor.
So I sent Jason a list of podcast topics.
Yeah.
They were numbered.
Yeah.
Numbered pod topics. It was a
Mhm.
couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Last week I sent it to him. Like, hey, here's a few things we can talk about.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
That we picked one.
Yeah, you told him our method.
Yeah. Well, I didn't follow our method exactly today. There was a near catastrophe.
And we have a list of topics numbered. Simple enough. Jason sends me a message, said, hey, let's talk about number 6.
Yeah.
I look at number 6. I begin kind of letting it percolate in my mind, thinking through what are we going to say? What questions am I going to ask? I show up. Jason's number 6 is a different number 6 than my number 6.
So I was on the phone with my wife explaining to her what we were going to talk about today. That was a surprise to Tanner because it was actually number 9 that I had prepared for
Yeah.
and not number 6.
It's all right, though, because today we're talking about judge not, lest you be
Lest
judged.
you be judged.
Judge not. That is actually, so I don't know if this is accurate or not. I read it. You can go to war against the author, of whom I'm not going to name, if you want to fight this stat. But actually, so that is the number 1 quoted verse on Twitter now.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, It was John 3:16 for a period.
Yep.
For a while, it was Philippians 4:13.
Yeah.
It is now switched, and they don't give the reference. They just say, "Judge not, lest you be judged."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably don't even know what where it comes from.
Yeah, they don't know where it comes from, most likely. And in reality, what they're saying is, "Hey, you can't tell me what to do."
Right.
That's what most people who use that phrase are saying.
Right.
And so let's get into that. Are we judging others? Whenever we tell people what to do, do Christians have a problem with judging others?
Mm-hmm.
Should we judge others? Yeah, let's jump.
Do we want to start with like the passage, like around
Yeah,
a little bit
everybody stand.
around it? Yeah, we stand for.
We would stand, but
the microphone.
it would
get in
just
the way.
the microphones, and you would just see our kneecaps on the screen.
Yeah. It'd be like somebody was playing pool.
Anybody get that reference? Because I don't.
When you break on a pool table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like clack, 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 clack.
Well, why would our knees do that?
I'm old. So, what sound do your knees make?
I don't. They don't make sound.
I thought you just said you'd hear our knees.
You would just see our knees on the thing.
I thought you said here. Another problem that I have is hearing. And all right, my phone is not cooperating, so we're getting there. Matthew 7.
Matthew 7.
Matthew 7. I mean that. What is it?
Literally, you knew what we were going to talk about.
I did, but
You could
then
have
my phone, like,
I'm sorry for him.
I didn't bring a paper. This is like, I should bring a paper Bible. This proves that.
Beat him. Where are you going? Matthew 7?
Matthew 7. It's 1 through 5, I believe. If I remember it correctly.
Matthew 7, beginning in verse 1, says, "Judge not, so that you won't be judged." Don't pretend like you got it now. For you will be judged by the same standard with which you judge others, and you will be measured by the same measure you use. Why do you look at the splinter in your brother's eye, but don't notice the beam of wood in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, "Let me take the splinter out of your eye," and look, there's a beam of wood in your own eye? Hypocrite, first take the beam of wood out of your eye, then you will see clearly to take the splinter out of your brother's eye. Don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they will trample them under their feet. Turn and tear you to pieces.
There we go.
Boom. That's Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 6. So let's, I think probably just to back up to that phrase, do not judge so that you won't be judged. Or to say it in a different translation, judge not lest you be judged.
Yeah. And this is if you have like red letter, I mean, Jesus said this.
Yeah, this is
like
Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah. So this is straight out of his mouth, which is somewhat ironic that a lot of the people that you hear quote this
are quoting Jesus.
Couldn't care less what Jesus said.
Yeah. Yep.
But they want to use that.
Yep.
That quote a lot of times against Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the first things we got to understand. Well, there's a lot of things to unpack this. Really, I think what most of the time when I hear people like in our culture say, "Judge not, lest you be judged," it's like you said. They just don't tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can do whatever I want to do, and it's more about you're not being tolerant of me, and maybe that'll be a little bit of an offshoot of what we talk about today. Like, what should Christians be tolerant, and what does that mean?
That is the highest, I feel like, valued more than anything else in our culture right now.
Is toleration. And even. But I don't think we all have the same definition of what tolerance is.
Right.
But we can hop off into that.
But we all, do you mean me and you?
I mean, in like
culture.
Yeah, culture and like culture compared to us as believers.
Okay.
And I think that's there may be some nuances from person to person as far as what they how they understand tolerance. But anyway.
So, do not judge so that you will not be judged. Let's first, what does it mean to judge someone? What would you say that would mean?
My first thought goes to like a courtroom. I mean, that's kind of my first thought is like you have someone who for some reason or another has been deemed to have that authority, to have that knowledge, that authority, discernment, whatever word you want to use, that they have that authority to say this is right or this is wrong.
Right.
Right. And so you're standing before that person and for them to decide whether or not what you did is acceptable or unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so they are judging you.
Yeah.
Which on an individual basis, I mean, I guess that's the core of what it is.
Right.
I mean, you're saying, hey, you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Would you be comfortable with replacing the word judge with the word condemn?
I think that is maybe. I don't know. I think the connotation behind condemn is a little, in my mind, more harsh than judge.
Okay.
Maybe not in culture's mind. Maybe culture's here's judge and here's condemn, and they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, judge is just like, make a decision, judge
Yeah.
for yourself. But there's some authority behind it though.
So yeah, and that's so looking up the definition of the Greek, the word is krenete, if you want to know that, from the word krino. It just simply means judge, pass judgment on. To get into the definitions, it's decide, come to a conclusion, to judge one thing better than another, to evaluate, judge based on correctness of something, hold a view, have an opinion, make a legal decision, decide a legal question of right and wrong, to condemn, to judge as guilty. So several different definitions for that word that you just have to decide based off of context.
Right.
Yeah. So to judge not, so it's based off of those. It's so you say you think the word condemn is too strong.
I mean, in my mind, they're just different. I mean, when I'm condemning someone, it's more of a you're wrong, and this is what's going to happen as a result.
Okay.
It almost like almost accompanies a sentence.
Yeah.
If you will, if I'm condemning someone, because what am I condemning them to?
Well, hold on. Let's look at verse 2, because it says, "With your judgment, you pronounce, you will be judged." So, like, whenever a judge pronounces a judgment.
Right.
Wouldn't that be like the condemnation?
Yeah, that's the punishment part.
Yeah.
But I guess my thoughts on like just judging in general is just the decision making part, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't separate those, but in my mind I do.
To me, they're together. Judge, condemn, like it's.
But like if I judge what somebody's doing, what am I condemning them to? I mean, I can't dish out any punishment myself.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's kind of just my thought process.
Yeah.
That one's a little more has a little more oomph behind it. The condemn.
Yeah.
So.
Either way, I think what's going on here,
Yeah.
whether it's judge or condemn, is you're saying what you're doing is wrong and I'm better than you. I think that's essentially what the issue is. I've understood the issue to be what's going on in Matthew chapter 7.
Yeah. I think that's what is felt from that. But I don't know that necessarily every time you judge someone that you're saying that you're better than them.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I could be doing the same thing.
I'm tracking. Okay.
I could be stating this is wrong.
Yeah. So you're
I'm stating a judgment.
Okay.
That this is wrong. I could have done the same thing.
Right.
And I'm wrong.
Right.
But I'm still making a judgment.
Right. So so you're speaking. Okay. I'm tracking. So you're speaking to. We're going to get here eventually, but Christians are commanded to judge other believers.
Yes.
Like to hold other believers accountable to what they're doing. And so I may be struggling, you may be struggling, and together I can be like, hey, I've noticed this in your life. You got some anger issues or this word that you've been saying, I've had the same issue.
Right.
Let's be better together. And together that is me judging you in a righteous way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I say that I'm like, if I'm condemning you, then to me, it feels like I'm coming at you like you're wrong, and this is what's going to happen, and this is your punishment.
So in Matthew chapter 7, though, based off the context, it seems as though Jesus is speaking against somebody who would call something out in somebody's life whenever they themselves are messed up.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's whenever it's saying, in context, this is the way I've understood it. Judge not that you be not judged. With the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. Okay, so with the measure that you use it, you'll be measured to you. So what I've understood that to be is like don't think you're better than other people.
Yeah, hold yourself to the same standard.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So there we go.
Yeah, and I think so. As far as our culture goes, I think they kind of take this also, and again, ironically, people that don't even really believe or follow God, but they'll make comments along with this comment, well, only God can judge me.
Okay.
And
So what is
it's
Jesus?
still, I think they're saying the same thing, that you
Right.
can't tell me what to do.
Right. Yep. So what is Jesus telling us not to do?
Be hypocritical.
Okay, there we go. I like
I
that.
think that's what this
Yeah.
this particular passage is talking. And in verse 5 he says hypocrite.
Yep.
He calls them what they are. And he's speaking to these kind of religious elite, these Pharisees, and they're on their religious high horse, telling everybody else where they're wrong, and being condemning to them and judgmental to them, while ignoring their own.
Their Jesus
issues.
says about them that they're whitewashed tombs. That they honor him with their lips, but their hearts are far from him, and at the same time they're out there condemning people. And just like, what are you doing? You're no good either.
Don't impose these standards on someone else that you can't even live up to yourself.
Right.
And so I don't think that this passage is talking about like final judgment. Or like, when you make a comment like only God can judge me, that's not what this is talking about. And that's out of context. And so, people take this passage, just that one verse, and he's like, well, you can't judge me or you're going to be judged.
So do you think Christianity has a problem with being judgmental at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. agree with that.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Christians have a problem with being.
Yeah.
So some of these people who have a concern that Christians are being judgmental, some of their concerns may be valid.
Oh yeah.
They may have had
100%.
a very real experience with a believer who was judgmental, who was put themselves on a pedestal and just stomped all over them.
Yes, and I'm looking up the other passage that I wrote down, but and I think that. So I think there's some validity behind that when our culture is saying that. I think because of their experience, that they've. And this is where I think it gets a little tricky, because Christians, while they 100% should stand up for what's right, and do what's right, and not condone or promote sin, I think we have to understand that we're not in the behavior modification business.
Okay. Yeah.
So like that's, and I think that, and it's easy to do that. It's easy for Christians to kind of slip into this mode of, I'm a Christian. And I know what's right. You're not doing what's right. You need to correct your behavior. And we get in that mode instead of first saying, look, I'm broken just like you're broken. First thing you need is Jesus. And then the behavior modification is going to come after that. But first, I'll make sure this is the right passage. 1 Corinthians 5 is where Paul talks about this. He says, when I wrote to you before, I told you not to associate with people who indulge in sexual sin, but I was talking about unbelievers who indulge in sexual sin or greedy or cheat or worship idols. You would have to leave the world. I wasn't talking about, I'm sorry, I didn't think I read that right. I wasn't talking about unbelievers who indulge in sexual sin, greed, cheat, worship idols, so forth and so on. He said if you did that, you would have to avoid everyone in the world. So they kind of took this. He said, hey, don't be around people that do this. And they took it to the extreme of, well, I'm not going to be around anybody that does that. But Paul's like, that's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about people within the church. He said, I meant that you are not to associate with anyone who claims to be a believer, yet indulges in sexual sin, greed, worship of idols, is abusive, so forth, so on, and don't even eat with such people. And we've talked about this before. I think we talked about that some on the friendship episode.
Like episode
2. It says in verse 12, it says, it isn't my responsibility to judge outsiders. And I think that, but it is certainly, he said, but it certainly is your responsibility to judge those inside the church who are sinning.
Yeah.
God will judge those on the outside, but as the scripture says, you must remove the evil person from among you.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Christians kind of get
Accused of judging.
Yeah,
that's
because
good.
I think we kind of get off track there and understand that unbelievers are not going to act like unbelievers.
No, you said
generally
that
speaking.
backwards. Unbelievers are
Not going to act. Unbelievers are not going to act like believers. Is what
Yes.
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got unbelievers are not going to act like believers.
Yeah.
I mean,
They have no
generally-
reason to.
No, they have no reason to.
Yeah.
And so it's a losing battle for us to try to just modify their behavior, and it
Right.
doesn't do anything for them either.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So back up before we get into that aspect. I had a thought earlier, like an example of this. Judge not, lest you be judged. Like an example of this that I do think we see in our culture, is we not preach. We post. We'll go with that word. We speak loudly and heavily against the LGBTQ community,
yes.
while at the same time laughing at our own sexual immorality.
Yeah.
I think that's an example of what Jesus is talking about in Matthew
Yeah,
chapter
for
7.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's
Like
totally
yeah.
acceptable for us to do, whatever, as long as it's not in that
Yes.
particular
Yep.
nuance of sexual immorality.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. We want to call them out, but at the same time, we have a version of the same sin going on in and among
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
perverted.
you're
Yeah.
living with your boyfriend and y'all or girlfriend, whatever, and you're sleeping together and that
Mhm.
kind of thing, and that's not that big of a deal. It's just that's kind of the method now is that we're
Yeah.
going to live together first
Yeah.
and kind of try this out, and then we're going to get married, and that becomes somewhat acceptable.
Yep.
Even within a quote unquote Christian conservative.
Yep.
I mean, you may claim to be
Context.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then, if it's anything, in the LGBTQ arena, you're just like, oh,
That's an abomination.
it's awful.
Yeah,
There's
it's-
people,
yeah.
whatever,
Yep.
and you're doing the same thing.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah, and we we just get into this mindset that, again, that comes across as I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think
Yep.
that condemnation part
Yep.
comes in, and that's what I think is a big turnoff for unbelievers, to even want to be remotely associated with a Christian
Right.
that's going to act like they're better because of the free grace that we've received.
So now to switch it back to what you were just talking about, in the same context, if you know of a believer
Yeah.
that is claiming has same-sex attraction, LGBTQ community, or is living with his boyfriend or girlfriend, then you have the command and obligation to go to them lovingly
Yeah.
and say, hey, what you're doing is not good.
Yeah.
What you're doing, this that you're a part of is
Yeah.
not what God has in store for you.
Yeah, and I think we're commanded to be firm with that. Whatever rebuke, whatever you want to call it, like to be assertive with that as far as the church is concerned and being part of the church. But there's nowhere where we're commanded to tear that person down.
Yep.
And I think that's also easy for us to do in the Christian community, is like, well, this person is doing something that we know to be a sin. We ignore our own sin, and we just really try to highlight this person as just an awful, terrible person. All right. And then there's no effort to invite them to church or talk to them about Jesus or anything. They're just, they're treated like garbage.
Yeah.
And that's not just like I know we use the example of the LGBTQ, but I mean, anything that is kind of an, I guess, overt, out in the open kind of thing. You know, somebody that's a drug addict or somebody that's whatever, something that's kind of out in the open. We just treat them like they're less of a person than we are.
Yep.
And that's nowhere in the Bible. That's nowhere in there that we're supposed to treat people like that.
What is the and I think we discussed this a little bit on the Friend podcast, appropriate way to judge those inside the church? Like any advice for that? And we have freedom now to end whenever we want, so we're not pressed for time or anything, but just kind of think through this to kind of maybe close. We'll see how far we go. Like appropriate way, some advice on how to judge correctly.
Yeah, I think
I would say before you get into point one is don't judge those outside the church. We already talked about that.
Yeah,
if they're unbelievers, you have no place.
Yeah, you don't. That's that's not within our. That is God's I can't talk today. That is God's responsibility. He is the only one that can judge them.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. For us inside the church, I think that. Well, I think it can get tricky too sometimes, depending on what the sin is and the way in which that sin happened. And what I mean by that is, if it's a sin that I have observed personally with someone, I need to go to that person by myself, try to correct that brother or sister, and graciously and understanding, knowing that I could be, and even the scripture even tells us, lest you be tempted to, you're not above that temptation, but you correct them with love. You go to them if they still don't do it, take some witnesses with you or some other people and then at that point, if it's still ignored, then the church as a whole is the biblical kind of step for that. Now, if someone is sinned publicly, it's a public sin. I guess that may be addressed differently, and sometimes it may be something that needs to be addressed publicly somewhat. I mean, and just an example off the top of my head. And because we are going to be going through Galatians again, I've been reading through that. Paul addresses Peter publicly for a sin that he committed publicly that affected many other people. And so he addressed him about that. There's nothing in Scripture that says he pulled him to the side.
Right. Well, I mean, Galatians, the book, is public.
Yeah. But I mean, the event that he's recording. He doesn't say, well, hey, I pulled Peter to the side, had a little talk with him, and then I made an announcement in front of everybody. No, I mean, he approached him in front of everyone. And made that clear that this is the gospel's at stake here. And this needs to be corrected. And Peter seemed to took that. I mean, I don't see any that he argued with him, and later on in Peter's writing, he was on good terms with Paul. So I mean. I think what was accomplished, was supposed to be accomplished, was accomplished. So,
do you think Peter took it well in the moment? This is just speculation.
Yeah. I think what we know of Peter's personality, in Scripture, and he seems to be kind of act first, brash, think later, kind of thing. And now I don't, a lot of what we know about Peter, though, also is during Christ's ministry on the earth, before he, the Holy Spirit came upon. Peter may have been a different person. Like in his ministry, through the work of the Holy Spirit. I mean, somebody may not have even recognized him. But so in what he was kind of developing through and going through. And again, that's just speculation. But I mean, what we know of Peter and how he reacted around Jesus and to Jesus and the things he said to Jesus, they're very bold and very like, this is what I'm thinking, I'm going to say it. I kind of imagine he didn't take it well in the moment.
And then Paul being like an apostle out of due time as well. Paul, it's like he wasn't there with the 12.
Yeah.
Like if I was Peter, I'd be like, "Shut your mouth, dude. You're a new guy around here."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also like knowing what we know of Paul's writings.
Yeah.
It seems like Paul was like a pretty big presence.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
Paul was
Yeah, people
calling
knew
you
him.
out,
Yeah.
then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
like he was pretty straightforward, passionate, and so I don't know. I always like, I don't know. Maybe it's sinful of me to like want to have
Been on the wall.
been
fly on
around,
the wall.
yeah, that drama, I guess. But I always like want, the rest of the church
Yeah.
at that time was like, oh,
Oh,
what
looking
is-
at each other. Yeah.
what is?
Yeah.
are we-
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
leave? Can-
Yeah.
as we-
No way. Dude, I ain't leaving.
Yes.
So I asked that question partially for fun,
Yeah.
partially to say it's good to tell the truth, even when the truth hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Like, if we don't know how the conversation went with Peter and Paul, but I would assume that if I was in that situation, I'd be very nervous to bring it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%.
But it's good to tell the truth
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we gotta understand
and do
too.
it lovingly.
Yeah.
You
And
don't have to
but I think
smash people under the ground.
and maybe to tie this back to your sermon on Thursday.
Okay, I like that.
What is your what's your motive behind
Yeah.
judging someone?
Yeah,
And I think that could tell a lot. I mean, in Paul's case, he was judging Peter because the actions that Peter were taking directly affected the gospel message.
Yep.
Right. It wasn't that Paul was just annoyed with him.
right.
And I think that with us, and I'll speak for myself personally, I have to check myself because sometimes I just get upset with somebody because they annoy me about something. Like they did something that
Happens to us regularly.
they did something that, and maybe I think it's wrong, but maybe it's not like,
Biblically wrong.
yeah, it's not wrong like
Yeah.
in the sense of it's going to,
It's like inconvenient.
yeah.
Or
So
annoying.
yeah. So I don't, in that case, I mean, I don't think I need to like come down on that person. And sometimes maybe I just need to suck it up and be like, that's on me. I
Yeah.
need to just kind of
Yep.
get over it.
Right.
So I think when you're talking about judging someone, you kind of got to check yourself and make sure, like, is this my opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Is this just my feelings that I'm trying to address right now? Or is this like a legit issue
Yep.
with the gospel, with scripture,
Yep.
with doctrine, with the way we should be living? And then have that difficult conversation. But
That's good.
maybe don't jump into it before you're sure,
Yeah.
because then you could just get into more
Yeah.
more problems.
Hey, I attacked you last week.
Yeah, it's my
Come
bad.
to find out, I was wrong.
Yeah, so it's a fun conversation
Yes.
too. I've had
Yes.
that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. That's good.
Nice.
I don't have anything else, do you?
I don't think so.
It's good. Judge not.
Less stupid.
I think we could summarize this, put a
Yeah.
little bow on it.
Yep.
Judge not has to do with thinking you're better than someone else.
Yes.
I think that's what Jesus was speaking against in Matthew chapter 7. We have no business judging those outside the church,
Yes.
outside of Christianity, outside of faith in Jesus. If there are people outside of faith in Jesus, our goal is to get them to know Jesus,
Absolutely.
not to get them to behave like they know
Right.
Jesus.
And that doesn't mean you can't stand up for what you believe
Right.
and say,
Yes.
call sin and say this is wrong or this
Yes.
is
Right.
right. But I mean, as far as like casting judgment on that individual,
Yeah.
that's not, for an unbeliever, that's not what we're supposed to do.
Unbelievers are going to do what unbelievers do.
It's hard to say, isn't
It
it?
is. Yeah. Believers are going to do what believers do.
Yeah.
Surely.
A lot of times we do what unbelievers do and we
Yep.
shouldn't.
And then we do have a command, an expectation to hold people accountable within Christianity, within the church. So,
Absolutely.
boom. Shakalaka.
That's what I'm talking about.
I got elf socks on today, boys.
I was wondering what the pattern was. I saw the little symbol for those special socks.
Will Ferrell.
Yeah. I like it.
Willie F.
Mine are just
shows.
It's my ankle.
shows.
It's my hairy ankle. That's what
Lame.
that is. You can't. It's not even. All you can see is the bottom of my shoe.
Yeah, I still got lint on the bottom of this one.
Yeah.
Nope, bottom of this one. Yep.
There we go. It's really caked in there.
Yep. Ain't going nowhere.
That's good. When lint rolls around.
Yep. Next week on the podcast. What are we talking about, Jason? Go ahead and tell them.
Next week, we're going to talk about number 6.
Yes. Are we doing it? You're in?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Can you trust the Bible?
We'll
next
do it.
week.
We'll
Next
do it.
week. Can you trust?
I was not
The
prepared
Bible.
to.
I was.
Tanner was. He took one for the team today, meaning for me,
Yeah.
because I was prepared for something else.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I'm going to prepare for that one
Perfect.
so hard. And I'm going to be
It's
ready.
going to be a 7-hour episode.
It's a marathon.
Can you trust the Bible coming up next week on the Shapod? One more week left in our Elijah/Elisha series, and then after that, we're going to begin looking at Christmas.
Yeah.
Couple weeks.
How many more episodes to the live episode?
Shapod live. Should be 3, 4, 3. Should be 3.
Yes.
Should be 3 episodes.
It's going to be great. Invite your friends, your neighbors,
Yeah,
your
dogs.
your international.
It's a black tie event, so
Yep.
rent your limos.
It's going to be great. There's going to be
Should we lay out a red carpet for us?
I think so.
For me and you?
Lights. Can we? If any of
Can
you
you
have,
invite the paparazzi?
yeah,
to
if
be
you
here?
have cameras with flashes, just bring them, and then
disposable.
just yeah, just the flashes. We don't need pictures. We just need the flashes. Yeah,
Sure. Strobe light.
I like it. I'm gonna get my outfit together.
I'm probably wearing this.
It's gonna be exceptional.
Probably gonna wear something just like this.
Well,
Hope you're not disappointed.
well, we'll see what happens. We are going to have some plans for assorted beverages that evening.
What were they again? Oh, milks.
Assorted milks, and
Creamers.
creamers, assorted coffees. It's gonna be like a wedding.
If you're still here, sometimes I call Jacob Kramer Jacob Creamer.
Yep,
And sometimes it's just cream.
and he knows that
Yeah.
and embraces it.
So it's not gossip.
No, because he knows it.
I would say it to his face.
But
That's a Christian way of excusing gossip.
yeah, that's if you want to say mean things, just say it to people's face, and it's
Yeah.
okay.
And then say, bless their heart.
Bless their heart. Yeah, but this is going to be arranged kind of like a wedding. You know how like people sit on the groom side and people sit on the bride side. So there'll be a chocolate milk side and a coffee side.
Probably not. But we'll see.
There will be an aisle in the middle, and you can choose. You can walk down it together.
Oh, that's good.
It's gonna be great. We'll toss a bouquet at the end. None of that's happening.
If you have a garter on.
I have one on right now. I need to get out of this chair. It's cutting off my circulation.
All right. This is weird. I'm out.